my sweet friends. I'm so happy you're here to spend some time with me today. If you're new around here, I hope you will consider hitting the subscribe button to join our crafty little family. For today's video, I have a flip through and then also a tutorial at the end. But before I get into that, I do want to quickly cover some questions that came up from our previous video. If you remember, we had a haul of all the fun things that we picked up from the Echo Park warehouse sale. So firstly, I want to say, if you are interested in participating in those sales, which come up fairly regularly, I would recommend following them on Facebook. That's where the first notification comes out that there's a sale. If you get their email notifications also, you will catch them there, but if you get them on Facebook, you will get them sooner than if you're looking just in your email for them. And so how they have their sale is that they announce that they're going to start their sale and then run it for the length of time, the duration of the sale, and then the sale is over and then they pack up all the orders. So I would recommend, if you see a notification and you're interested in checking it out, I would go there as quickly as you can. Because even though I have ordered, this is the fourth time, the last haul that I showed you was the first time I've gotten everything that I checked out with. And I think what happens is that they don't have their stock accurately input in their computer. So a lot of times you're checking out with things and you don't actually get all of them, which can be frustrating if you're like me and you're planning a project. You might be picking up a paper pack and the coordinating chipboards or things that go together with a collection, and you might not get all of those. That happened to me last year. I ordered all the chipboards to go with the collections, and I only got like one of the 8 that I ordered. So that's frustrating, and it made me aware that you need to act quickly if you want to get something from the sale. So they're going to, I think, fulfill the orders that come in first. That seems logical to me. So when they run out, they just don't have the stock to fulfill the remaining orders. So you will make sure to check that you've not been charged for them, which I have not been in the past. But it is a little frustrating if you're planning a project with the different elements that go together and you don't get all of them. So I would say definitely shop quickly if you can. Make sure that you rely on the notifications on Facebook to get your alert sooner. And then they will also have a timeline where they leave the sale open and then they don't ship until the sale is over. So I ordered midweek 2 weeks ago. And on the details, the fine print, they said that they would not be shipping until the following Friday. So if you're hoping for a quick turnover, maybe that's not going to be something that works for you. I ordered midweek, went through the rest of the week and the weekend, and then they shipped the following Friday. So because I was planning ahead, that worked for me and it was not a problem. But if you need to get things quickly, I would recommend maybe purchasing from someone that has a quicker turnover. So that was my experience with the Echo Park warehouse sale. I was pretty happy to get everything that I wanted for my projects, and then I had time to wait for them to come in. So that was another thing. I checked earlier because I got an alert from scrapbook.com that one of the items I purchased from the warehouse was also listed there. And I think that is true. A lot of the collections are still available through scrapbook.com, but I picked up, I don't know if you saw that video, a set of number dies, and it was $10 from that sale, and scrapbook.com had it listed for $16.50. So I think that's a pretty good savings. So I would consider continuing to look at that warehouse sale, even though it's not the most convenient. But you do get free shipping for $50, so maybe take that into account when you make your decision as well. But you're going to get a good value, get some good deals, and maybe pick up some things that you passed on before. They're not always the newest collection, so that would be another way to get something if you regretted not picking it up sooner. Okay, well, that is a lot of talking before we even get into a project. So it is going to be a very easy to make and very fast mini album. And I know I like to make those a lot. and I want to put a different spin on it and do it in a different way. This one turned out to be so fun and much easier because all the cutting was done with a die. So what I want to do is share a shaped mini album, and this will work with your dies as long as it has a straight side, a solid straight edge that you can add your spine to so that you can flip through it. Now, so I have just done a pretty basic job of having it open from the left-hand side like a regular book. There are a lot of options with this, and I'll get into those later on, but I did want to show you real quickly. This is the die that I use, and this one is a coved stitched rectangle. This one came from Sherry Lynn Designs, but I have seen them from many different manufacturers, so you may already have something similar in your stash, or you could find it easily if you wanted to pick one up. I use this a lot for wall hangings and that type of thing because I like to layer on all the things and then attach loop that they can be hung on the wall, and then basically for holiday decor, so that kind of thing. And this one has a nested set, so there's a lot of different choices as far as what size you want to do. I would keep in mind while you're planning, if you want to include a full journal size cut apart as a tip-in, that you want to make sure that you have enough room on the side that you're going to add it, that you can include that into the mechanism that opens. So that's just only really very easy to work around. If you want to just make a really small one, don't put the full-size cards in. I think it would also be fun to consider other different shapes. This is more of a pennant shape, and like I said, if this has a lot of different sizes, you can really customize it. But the thing that we'll have in common is that it does have that one straight side. You do not have to bind it like a regular book. You could bind it from the top and make it a flip up, or you could, in this case, I would say, because there are straight sides on both sides, you could cut all of the papers with your die and then cut them in half if you have like a nice guillotine cutter, and you could put a binding on both sides and have it open like a gatefold or alternate pages. That would be really fun too. So there is just a lot of different ways to put this together. And then I thought it would be nice too to show a actual banner shape. So if you were just going to make a straight edge, this would give it a lot more detail. And these are all like a stitched edge, so that's also going to add a little bit of interest. And I don't really know exactly what to call this shape, but I think it could work also for that double binding if you wanted to, or have it open like a ticket book so that you can have it opening from the top or alternating either one. So this would be another good option. So whatever you have that you could have one side work for a binding, that would be perfect. So I think this might be the easiest one that I have made in all of the minis that I've shared, because all the papers were cut with that die. And that made it easy. Sometimes when you're working with a regular mini album that you make, you're also having to consider if you're putting in a border, then you have to go down the increments for the different measurements, or if you have different size pages, then each page is going to have a unique set of measurements, and that might be more work than you're willing to do for a project. And I think that especially if you're gifting these to someone, I made this in a school theme, which I thought would be great because it's almost the end of the school year. This could go as a gift for a grandparent with pictures of, you know, the grandkids in there through the school year. Because it was a very different school year, they might not have been able to participate with after school activities and that type of thing. So it would be nice if they had some pictures so that they could feel like they're joining in on the family activities, or even make this as a teacher gift. If you have a pocket in here, you could include a gift card if you're gifting at the end of the year as a thank you. So there's a lot of different options for just this particular theme. You don't have to stay in school though. You could make this Christmas, Halloween, make it a cookbook, you could do anything you wanted because it was so easy, and it went through quite a lot of paper. And I'm looking to do that more now than I used to because I want to work through my stash. So I like these big chunks of paper taking up a lot of my reserve. And so here is the school theme one. Like I said, do it in any theme that you like. I have finished the front with my usual layering, and that's a doily, some kind of focal image. I cut this one from one of the journal cut aparts, and I used a tag shaped die with some stitching detail, and that just makes it a little bit more interesting. I've added a couple charms here, and I thought those would work perfectly for school, and a couple of handmade flowers here and one from Really Reasonable Ribbon. So I made these with the same cardstock as that border so that I knew they would coordinate. And then a couple of sequins here, and I always like to add a tie closure so it keeps everything secure inside. And then I did finish the spine and the back with the coordinating paper. So it's finished all the way around and it looks so nice. So I'll just open this up here real quickly and show you the inside. This base is created with a double layer of 110-pound cardstock. So don't worry about these pages being flimsy. You've got enough paper layers there. It's going to be chunky and heavy and nice and hold its shape, and that's what you really want. So I used the cut apart journal cards as my tip-ins. This particular collection, this is the Authentique Scholastic paper collection. And there's a lot of different ones out there this year if you're looking to get school paper. But one of the patterns had some cut aparts that you could easily add writing to. So I think that would be a great idea to add the details for your pictures. And then, so I added a tip-in for each of the pages. And then on the alternate page, I added a photo mat. So here's where you put your special picture. This one has a tuck spot as well. And so you could slide your picture under there and it would be a really nice layered look when you finished it. So I just alternated the scale of the patterns and the depth of color. So it's kind of a neutral on the back and then much more vibrant and punchy for this photo mat. And it's layered with that blue cardstock and then also a die cut frame. And I used the blue cardstock for my cut aparts as well. So the next page has a similar setup. I wanted to show you how easy it is to flip the pattern. So if you get a non-directional pattern, you can cut your pages and then cut an additional different pattern and then layer them on top. Because it's cut with that die, everything is going to line up perfectly and you're going to get a lot of use out of a single cut because you cut it in half and then use it for both pages. So that worked out great. And then here I'm showing that I used some of the offcut of that one pattern for the first set of pages. I don't want to waste paper, and so this is a great way to utilize it, having a kind of a frame, a photo frame here, and then you can layer things on top. And this is a pretty doily die I picked up from Cherryland Designs as well. So my last set of pages has a pretty similar layout with the flip on the one side and then the neutral pattern paper. On this one I used a square, so this one is a Gina Marie design square doily, and then I put my offcut of that plaid as a banner shape on top, and pictures can be slid underneath that as well. So it's kind of a nice way to finish off these pages, and it looks like you worked from the bottom up instead of tucking things in after they're done. So you can see this is a spine now that is 3/4 of an inch because it is 3 separate components that are 1/4 of an inch deep. So you could easily add more pages if that suited the need you have for your project at the time, or you could put 2, or I think if you are careful to make sure that you don't get too out of control, you could probably add 2 or 3 more sections on here and it would be very stable and secure and it will hold its shape. So now that I've shown you the finished project, let me show you how I created the base, and then hopefully you guys will be inspired to create some of these quick and easy mini albums for yourself. Okay, so for the base of this book, I'm going to demonstrate with a slightly smaller die. It's the same set of coved stitched rectangle, but just a little bit smaller size, and that would show you how flexible this is. So I think when I finish this book base up, I'm going to go ahead and finish it with some of that Christmas paper that I just picked up from my warehouse haul, and then we will add this to the prize pack at the end of the 12 days of Christmas in July. So I will be sure that I can finish this and get use out of it. Okay, so I'm using that 110-pound cardstock, and for this size I was able to cut all the components of these portions with just 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11, and so that's going to be a good use of paper with not a lot of offcut. And for whatever die you use, that is going to affect the measurements for the side, but the technique is what you need to remember. So going forward, what you want to do is measure your solid side, whether you're using the top or the bottom, and this is going to be the length of your spine for your pages. So I am using the same 110-pound cardstock, and I cut my pieces to be the same as on that side, and then they are 2¼ inches wide, and I scored them at 1 and 1¼ so I've got 2 1-inch pieces that hinge, and then 1/4 inch, and that's going to build up the depth on the spine that we need to incorporate all those paper layers. And so my first time I did this, I did not attach all the hinge parts first, and I tried to work as I went along, and that wound up to be trouble because I had to unattach things and work them. So I think it's just much easier to go ahead and make your hinge spine up first and then add your pages to it. So I have just attached each one to the next one using my double-sided adhesive tape, and you could use wet glue if that is what works for you. And I just went ahead and marked on these which side I need to attach together, so that I didn't lose track of which direction they were going. And because I cut them all the same, they're very easy to line up. Just get those edges right together, and you will have the hinge portions that you'll need to attach your book. So go ahead and give that a nice good pressure so that you know all that contact is made. And this is going to be the left-hand spine. I'm going to make it the same way as I did the original one. And so now what I want to do is work from back forward, I think, just to make it a little easier. And I'm going to line up my pages to the edge on the outside, because that's the part that will be least forgiving if you don't get it on exactly straight, if that makes sense. I put my adhesive on for the portion, so I cut 8 total for this book. Has 4 pages, so I need 2 for each page, and 1 I added adhesive all the way around. For the hinge parts, I did add my adhesive to each side so that I can work along and it will be attached to the base, to the spine. And I'm just going to line that up, so easy, and add that here, and then flip it over and add the page that goes on the back. So now you've got that double layer of 110-pound cardstock, and that has added a lot of weight and a lot of bulk. And when you finish it with the pattern paper, it will be just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do the remaining pages here, and I will show you how that looks when it's done. Okay, so here I am just putting on the last of the last page, and this will be the outside cover. I will recommend to you to go ahead and cover your spine, the hinge portion. I went ahead for my finished book and cut a piece of 110-pound cardstock that was the length of the spine, so that will differ depending on what die you use, but then make it 3/4 inch so that it will cover the entire width here, and that will give it a nice finishing edge, and then also a little bit more stability so that it will have that extra layer of 110-pound cardstock. I will also recommend that you put your closure on and then add your front and back covers so that you have a lot of extra space adhering your ribbon in that will stay nice and secure. So I think this would be a great group project or kid project that you could help them with by making the base and then letting them cut the other components and add them so that you can personalize some gifts if they're for grandma or something like that. So here is the base. Here is my finished project, and I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. It was very easy, very quick to make, and I can't imagine any theme that wouldn't look great in this style. And I think I'm gonna go make a Christmas book right now because it's 90 degrees out and I don't want to be outside. So that is all for my project. If you enjoyed this style of video, make sure you let me know in the comments and give me a big thumbs up if you did. If you are not already, I would love for you to subscribe. Remember to check in the description for links to all our social media sites on Pinterest and Etsy and our blog and our Facebook. So as always, I'm wishing everyone a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching.